Hey, I'm Luke, this is 5-in-5, and these are 5 short, game-changing books in my Christian life. To make the list, they needed to be under 222 pages. They needed to have some particularly meaningful and discernible impact in my life. Let's get into it. Okay, book 1 is Heaven is a Place on Earth by Michael Whitmer. This book came out my freshman year of college, and it radically reshaped my theological framework. It provided some of my very first whoa moments in college because it reworked just about everything I thought about heaven, which means it reworked just about everything I thought about the goal of salvation and thus the Christian life. Now, a fun fact is I actually hated the book when I first read it because it challenged so much of what I believed. And I actually tried to argue my points with the author after a book reading on campus one time. It didn't go well. Principally, Whitmer argues that popular Christian theology today is far too Gnostic, meaning it upholds a perspective about the world in which the physical is bad and the spiritual is good, and so we need to escape the world. But this is not the biblical perspective on creation, which holds that creation remains good and will be renewed and serve as the final setting for the eternal state. As Whitmer puts it, we're earthlings for heaven's sake. There have been other books that have argued similar things since, but this book was an absolute paradigm shifter for me that put my feet on the ground and helped me stop wondering why I enjoyed the beauty of creation so much. Okay, book 2, Living Life Backwards by David Gibson. This book came to me at a time that I was in a season of really severe health anxiety. The book is an exposition of Ecclesiastes, and Gibson tackles the issue of death straight on from the opening line. Gibson argues in the book that you really cannot live life until you've not just accepted the reality of death, but learned to live in light of it. And when you do, everything opens up. You begin to rightly see life as a gift rather than a competition of gain, and are actually able to live more fully, drink more deeply, live more generously. This book is packed to the brim with insights and is probably the book I recommend more than any other to students. Okay, book 3, The King Jesus Gospel by Scott McKnight. Okay, this book was really significant and helped me in a number of ways. I don't remember what year I read it, but it pushed me to take a really close look at how the New Testament used the language of the gospel and how the gospel is above all about Christology. In other words, McKnight pushed my nose close to the glass to see that the gospel is foremost about the story of Jesus as the fulfillment and resolution of the story of Israel. The reason that this was so helpful is that the gospel that I grew up with was somewhat reductionistic, very personalized, and very much about individual and personal safekeeping for the afterlife. In my mind, it had very little to do with life here and now. But the biblical gospel, fully expressed, points to Jesus' human kingship, ascended, enthroned, and now reigning. The biblical gospel connects to Jesus' own humanity, his human life of obedience, paving the way to put humanity back on track in line with the original purpose for humanity. So this book started fanning the flames of connecting the dots to seek out a more biblical picture of what salvation is for and not just from. Book 4, Our Deepest Desires by Gregory Gansley. Our Deepest Desires is a beautiful little philosophy book that explores the role of longings in the human life. Why do we desire certain things as humans? How can we make sense of those desires? What do those longings point to? This little book really packs a punch and has short, beautiful prose. This book was so helpful to me to give language to a lot that I was seeing in students' lives and that I felt internally in my own life about reality, but I didn't know how to express and didn't have the words for. It was one of the most helpful books that crystallized for me what the purpose of beauty is in the Christian life and what its relationship to goodness is, how both of these are essential to human flourishing. It was one of the books that convinced me just how important it was to pay attention to our loves in the Christian life, for what we desire and hungered for drive us far more than our beliefs. Next up is Jesus, the Great Philosopher by Jonathan Pennington. I've been a fan of Pennington's work on the Sermon on the Mount and human flourishing, so I was pumped when this came out, and it did not disappoint. Pennington resurrects the form of ancient philosophy as something that offered a way of life, a path to flourishing. He goes on to show that one of the earliest conceptions of Jesus in the ancient world was that of a philosopher, precisely because Christianity offered a way of life that was so satisfying. I'll probably do an entire video on this soon, so I'll keep my comments here rather brief, but Pennington looks at the deep wisdom Christianity offers in comparison to alternative philosophies for key aspects of life today like emotions and relationships and meaningful happiness. For me, this book was so helpful because it put meat on the bones of this growing conviction I had about just how practical Christianity was for the flourishing of society and for how to live well. It further crystallized the sense that discipleship in the Christian life is about the human vocation of working towards the restoration of flourishing in the world. Again, this is another book that is packed with insights and ideas to mull over and chew on, and I could not recommend it more highly. If you enjoyed this, please let me know, and let me know what a book is that's less than 222 pages that was a game changer in your Christian life. For more videos like this and others on the Christian life, go ahead and check out whatever video is showing in the screen right here, and I'll see you in there.